Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome back to Cardiff City World. This is episode number 2 of Sleeping Giant Rebuilding Cardiff City. In today's episode, it's entitled Football First, Evolving, and of course, Fixing the Culture and the broken part of Cardiff City off the field. Because we're going to have a deep dive into why building the right structure off the field is absolutely crucial to fixing what's broken on the field. We'll explore the importance of culture, identity, and environment behind the scenes, and why the right football structure must be in place, and why it could be the biggest game changer for Cardiff City going forward. Something that we've been crying out for a long time. So let's do it. Let's be honest. For over a decade now, Cardiff City have struggled with identity and consistency, both on and off the field. It's a massive reason for this is the lack of structure. The structure which we've been lacking, and we've fallen behind so many other clubs around Europe, around the world, in the Championship, and even below the Championship. You cannot build success on sand. And since Ian Moody left the football club, following those tensions with Vincent Tan, the fallout behind the scenes, we haven't had a permanent director of football or a defined footballing strategy. There is no plan. Ian Moody, for whatever you may think of him, was instrumental in bringing in players. He was instrumental in the recruitment and the scouting during our promotion campaign. Worked heavily alongside Malky Mackay, bringing in the players that Malky Mackay wanted, that suited the way that Malky Mackay wanted to play, both in terms of the quality required, but also the personalities that Malky Mackay required to build that team. And that team, which won the Championship, was so close. They were so tight-knit. And that was a big part in due to the long-term, short-term, mid-term planning that was going on at the time. But ever since then, Vincent Tan has tightened his control. Ever since then, there's been a real distrust of giving too much power to football operators. And what's followed? A revolving door of managers, different playing styles, short-term planning, poor recruitment, no real identity, and most of all, poor execution. Running a football club, it's not like other businesses. It's not like a normal business. Yes, there are sponsorships, season tickets, profit margins, but the success on the pitch doesn't follow the same rules as a retail, as real estate, as gambling, or as any other business in the world. In most businesses, the CEO or the owner will set the direction and it trickles down. But in football, you need football people making those football decisions. And that's where the rules, they need to be clear. Football operations side of things is something that Cardiff, in my opinion, has needed for a real long time. When you've got a transfer committee, but the only person involved in that transfer strategy with any sort of football background is only the manager, that's a real issue. You know, there's normally you'd have a director of football who would be in charge of the long-term football strategy. You'd have a head of recruitment who'd be in charge of the scouting team, the analytics, picking up potential bargains or scouting and finding the right types of player ready for that long-term strategy set out by the director of football. You'd have an academy director who's in charge of the youth development. You'd have a technical director who knits everything together with the philosophy, the style, but he brings together the director of football's long-term strategy, the scouting, the analytics, and everything which the head of recruitment brings, the academy director brings. That technical director brings it all together, would also be in charge, or certainly a big part of the culture that's installed in the club, how the players view the club, how the players behave, on the training ground, in public, etc. Setting out those goals and structures and philosophies. Then you'd have a manager who'd be in charge of the day-to-day results, being in charge, leading the coaching team as they run that football side of things. Then you would have, on the business side of things, you'd have a CEO, you'll have a who would be in charge of the finance, the commercial, the logistics of the club. You'd have a marketing and a comms department who'd be in charge of the brand, the PR, the fan relations. You'd have HR, legal, retail, all supporting roles. But you'd also, you'll have the chairman will have the day-to-day running of the club. But our board is not there day to day. This creates a massive disconnect between the owner, then you've got the board, and then you've got the people at the club who are day to day there running things. But there's no one who's in charge. There's no one who's taking a strategic look at the football side of things and adapting that week to week, day to day, because he's in the cusp of it. He's in the club. He's speaking to the manager every day. He's speaking to the coaches, the players, the people who are the lifeblood of the club. He's speaking to the scouting team, the head of recruitment, the analysis people. That is so imperative to building a cohesive and fluid football club that is moving in the same direction. This filters down then into the playing squad, into the coaching staff. And this is the problem with Cardiff at the moment. There's a massive disconnect. So this series is not about saying how shit Cardiff is, how great, how rubbish it is. We all hate Vincent Tan, blah, 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 blah. It's not about that. This is about rebuilding Cardiff City and finally addressing the fixes and the issues that have been clear to see for a long time. If by some miracle we avoid relegation this year, we have to address those issues, or we will be doomed to repeat the same cycle of the last several years. Flirt with relegation, change the manager almost every year. Interim manager has a bit of a bounce, give him a job, repeat. We have to have a plan. The only way for that plan to come to fruition is for the owner and the board to make these changes and implement this change, so we have a short, mid, and long-term plan. At Cardiff, the lines have been blurred for too long. We've needed a defined football structure that supports the manager, not one where the manager has to fight for every decision, or he's the only football voice that's heard in the room. You look at clubs like Brighton, Brentford, even Luton. What do they all have in common? They've got a clear identity, a proper footballing structure in place with a long-term plan. But you also have to have short-term plans and mid-term plans that can constantly be evolving with the way football changes, with the way your season changes, with the way that the football results go. You might be ahead of schedule. If you've aimed for promotion in 3 years, you might be ahead of schedule. You might be behind your schedule. Injuries, all these different things can have an effect on the day-to-day planning and infrastructure at the club in terms of where you are in your plan to go forward. But you build that by having people in the football operations, by hiring a football director who is in charge of that club's philosophy. You have a scouting network based on data and potential, but you also move with the times with scouting and data. This is something that we're going to talk about in a later episode with things like analysis and how to take us and catch us up with other clubs, because we are way behind. But also the footballing structure that we're discussing, the need for footballing minds to run the club on the football side and to implement these plans and to make everything cohesive is also about supporting the manager, so there's a consistent and clear view of what we are doing and where we're going, how we're going to get there. There has to be clarity for everyone involved so that filters down into the playing staff. You have to invest in a culture where the players, the staff, and the fans all know the direction and they're all pulling in the same direction. Even as recent as this week, there's a a real disconnect between the fans and the football club. There's a real disconnect between the manager and the board, even the board and the chairman, the board and the owner. Sorry, there's so much of a disconnect. For sake of using the same word again, that we have to address it. We've been lucky in recent years to avoid relegation. We may not be so lucky this year. So it is absolutely vital that this summer, whether we stay up or we go down, we finally get to grips with a clear plan on how to take Cardiff City forward. Cardiff City is a capital club, the capital of Wales. The infrastructure is there in the city. The infrastructure is there in the stadium in terms of facilities. But there's also the infrastructure of the academy that is now being built and the training ground, which is on its way. Everything is in place except the personnel and the footballing structure to filter down from the owner to the football team. You have to bring it all together so everyone's on the same page. And right now, Cardiff feel, I've said this many times, they feel reactive, not proactive. That's got to change. The structure we build off the field, it's got to be the foundation for what we want to achieve on the field. And to do that, it's got to be cohesive. Culture matters. Culture, it isn't just a buzzword. It's the difference between a team that fights for each other and one that falls apart when things go wrong or the pressure's on. To change the culture at Cardiff City, you have to empower the manager, the coaches. You have to back them. You have to not micromanage them, and you have to create an environment which enables them to do what they do best, which is coach and run football teams. This also, of course, involves bringing the right personnel in those positions. But today we're talking about the structure above them. You have to prioritize things like player development, mental well-being of players. You know, again, Cardiff is so behind the times in things like recovery, how we care for players off the field and how we mentally prepare them for games and in between games, in between international breaks and things like that. You have to get with the times, but you have to involve everybody in that. You have to have the right people in place to do that. They also need to involve fans. We need to embrace our local identity. Embrace the fans. The fans are the lifeblood of the football club. Stop holding them at arm's length. Stop treating them like they're an inconvenience because they've got opinions or because they care. Embrace it. The fans are the lifeblood. The fans are what will keep you going through thick and thin. But on the pitch, the fans are what will get behind the team in those tough times, in those high pressure moments. The fans will stick with you if they see a clear plan, but they also feel included in said plan. If you lay it out to them and this is the plan, this is who we're bringing in, this is why. And ultimately, Vincent Tan has spent a lot of money. This cannot be doubted. But if we had this sort of footballing structure in place with the right personnel, bringing everything together, and a director of football operations, a director of football, whatever you want to call it, a technical director, these types of roles, these types of footballing minds, I would absolutely put my life on Vincent Tan either wouldn't have spent as much money or the money which he would have spent would have been much more well spent, meaning that he would see much more of a likelihood of a return on the football pitch. We have to bring a level of continuity. The chaos that is Cardiff City has got to end. We have to find calm within the storm. We have to put these things in place and change the culture at the club from top to bottom. The time is now. We have to stop seeing Cardiff as a stepping stone or a crisis club, and we need to start rebuilding it as a powerhouse with a purpose. We need to start building it as the sleeping giant that it is. The short, the long, the mid-term plan. So what does all this look like in practice? In the short term, say the next 6 to 12 months, first and foremost, avoid relegation if possible, please. Then I think it's imperative that we address that football structure almost as soon as the season's finished. You need a director of football who's got experience and a vision for modern football. They have to then align that with the plans for the management team. You need that director of football above the manager to have that footballing strategy and that plan. The recruitment, the manager and the director of football need to be on the same page so that you can take the team forward and you have the right players in the, like, round pegs, round holes. For instance, at the moment, Perry is rumoured to be injured. We don't have a fit right back at the football club because we've only got one right back at the football club. We have young Ronan Capacchio, who's coming back from an injury, but he's, a couple of first team appearances. This is bad mismanagement of the football team. And that comes from the constant changing of manager. But because of that, there's no football in mind with a footballing plan, planning the squad, looking at the squad, looking at what we need. It's almost like throw shit at the wall and see what happens. The director of football has to come in and they have to align with the management and the recruitment on that style and the personalities that they require in their squad to take the team forward. There has to be defined roles. There has to be direct communication from the coaches, the manager, or the players, the coaches, the manager, the footballing structure, the board, and so on. You have to set those cultural standards. You have to have the right players from a mentality point of view, attitude point of view, work rate point of view. You have to have a blend of ages. You have to have some players at their peak. You have to have a lot of, youth and young players coming through, and you need a bit of experience who've been there and done it. And it's finding that right mix with the right attitudes so that you don't have players kicking off if they don't play, or you don't have players kicking off if things go wrong. You need the right environment in training, in games, in the community, around the club, when they're dealing with people, when they're dealing with each other. You have to have problem solvers in and around them so that if there is issues, they can be kept in-house and they can be dealt with properly. In the midterm, I think the academy is already a very robust and impressive academy. You've got a sea of players coming through at the moment, which is fantastic. There seems to be a loose pathway to the first team. We have to make that pathway much more clear and identifiable. And we need to take that forward and give these young players opportunities to play first team football at the right times, whether that's with the Cardiff City first team or that's putting them on short-term or long-term loans to get the first team experience with the plan to then bring them into the first team. You have to have a strong leadership group in the squad. One thing which Cardiff have been criticised for in recent years is the lack of leaders in the playing group. This again comes back to the director of football, the head of recruitment, the manager, the technical directors, the academy. It's bringing in the right personalities, bring in a leader. If there's an academy player within the system who's showing real leadership qualities, give him a mentor to help breed those qualities, and he can then take that into first team football. In the long term, 3 to 5 years, we want to be a sustainable championship club. Financially, we would like to be in the green. We're probably a way off that. But let's be sustainable in terms of playing. Let's make sure we're not down in the bottom doldrums of the championship. Let's be that mid-table club. Let's build towards being the top half promotion chasing Premier League ambitions club. But also, I think it's important to have a sellable asset model. So it's having players who have a bit of a resale value so that you can recycle that into the transfer key. You can recycle that by selling players and then replacing them with academy players. Let's be known long term for our youth development. Let's be known for the identity of this football club, the relationship with the fans, the youth players we bring through, the style of football that we try to play, the footballing structure that we have in place. The fact that Cardiff now suddenly move with the times. You know, we use equipment, we use analysis, we use technology that maybe is a bit outside the box because we're trying to always evolve what we're doing. Be known for being a passionate, proud football club. Reconnect with the city, reconnect with the fans. One club, one direction, or should I say, a city is one. Look, football comes first, right? Always. The football comes first. And if Cardiff City are to awaken this sleeping giant, which I think we know we are, we've got everything in place almost. The structure off the pitch has to match the ambition that we have long term. It has to match the evolution that we need in the short term. It's time to stop the firefighting and start rebuilding. And you do that by brick, roll by roll, with culture, identity, and purpose. I'm Si. This is Cardiff City World. This is the second episode in our series of rebuilding Cardiff City. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, tell us how you would fix the club. Tell us what you think of this episode. And also, if you can, please do become a member. We create content, all things Cardiff City, by fans, for fans, 7 days a week. You can become a member either at patreon.com/AcePodcastNation or just press join at the YouTube channel. I cannot tell you how much it means, how much it helps us out. It enables us to consistently create this content, and we want to take it further. We want to create more. We want to create higher quality content. We want to take it into, and we want to do exactly what we're talking about today. We want to evolve the channel. We want to think outside the box. We want to try different things. We want to create special content for you, talking about the club we love. And every single member, for the price of a pint, makes a massive difference to us. We'll be back with episode 3 next week. Hopefully, as this goes out, Cardiff somehow managed to get 3 points against Sheffield United last night on Good Friday. And hopefully we can take some points from Oxford on Monday. I'll be back Sunday night with the Breakdown podcast live, previewing Oxford and talking about Sheffield United. But I'm also open to this conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's debate it. These episodes are supposed to be about rebuilding Cardiff City. They're conversation starters. Let's make sure that City as one is not just a stupid hashtag. Let's make it a reality. Culture, identity, purpose. In a bit.